Hey, I'm Nick DiMatteo, and welcome to week 210 and video episode number 36 of Music is Not a Genre. Every week I take a release from my collection, I discuss it, I give you my take on it, I throw in some other interesting info and connect it to things out in the other music and in the real world and to my music. Before we get into this week's topic, a couple housekeeping notes. If you like what you're watching, if you like any of the music I'm discussing, if you like my other podcasts about music ideas connected to real life, if you like any of the concerts I do, whether it's solo or with my special guests or with Catherine Lynn, if you like any of the recorded music that I post here, please take a moment and subscribe. Please take a moment and subscribe. It would mean a whole lot to me. I'd love for you to be part of this family, part of this team. I'd love to hear from you and to get to know what you think about any of this. And or if you think someone else might like any of this, please share the link to either one of the videos, this video, another video, or to the page itself. Spread the word. Please, let's help bring more people into this because, as always, conversation and connection, that's my objective here. And thank you for watching either way. Second housekeeping note, I am wearing a shirt that says 100%. And it's from a company called Snark Shirts by Feek, which is a company that I founded with my partner, Catherine Lynn. And it features Feek, a character I created a long time ago, shouting phrases that are weird and goofy and funny, might have a little punch in them, a little oomph. They're insouciant. And we have a website, snarkshirtsbyfeek.com. We have several shirts in several colors with several phrases. Please, if you have a moment, I'll put the link underneath. Please check out the website, see if there's a shirt you might like. It's actually a great idea for a holiday gift or a birthday gift because not many people know about this company yet, so you will be surprising. Anybody with this kind of sense of humor or zest for life with a gift that they will have never seen before, and I guarantee you they're going to love it. So thank you for that as well. So this week, the topic is appropriation, adaptation, homage, integration, or how you steal makes a huge difference. So I looked through my setup over here, my catalog collection, and I've been, it's getting down to the wire where I'm seeing the same LPs over and over and over. And I'm passing by some of them because you got to be ready to talk about whatever you're talking about before you jump right into it, right? So something popped into my head based on another conversation this week. And then I saw this, Paul Simon's Graceland, and the two things just came together. There's an idea in music which actually doesn't come from music. It comes from, I believe it's attributed often to Igor Stravinsky, so music, Picasso, David Bowie, even Steve Jobs, which is good artists borrow, great artists steal, right? And there's different versions of it and the whole thing. And the thing is, anybody who creates, who is really in touch with their creation, has been doing it a while, is honest about their creation, it's an open secret. Everybody knows this, So, and what it's saying is that nothing that anyone creates comes out of a black hole. It's connected to the world in some way. It's connected to their experience, and their experience includes, other music or other works of art or other, technology or whatever it is. And in any of those cases, even other modes of conversation or things that you're saying that you might have heard someone else say. So and the point of all of this is that there's a way to do it and a way not to do it. So let's go over some examples. Some musicians wear their influences broadly on their sleeve, like Oasis, the Beatles, or Janelle Monae and Prince, right? Although she does a bunch of other things too. Others kind of not just naturally or through experience take a more subtle approach. So early in an artist's career, either through necessity or love, they generally are going to adapt an artist that they connect with. That's how they kind of get their start until they find their own voice. But even later on, here's a perfect example. Like early on, Bowie, you know, you can hear a lot of Beatles in what he does, right? Or more recently, Greta Van Fleet with Led Zeppelin, which, you know, I haven't listened enough to it, and I'm sure a lot of it's great, but you know, if they're talented, which they are to some degree, but if they're even more talented than that, if they have legs, longevity, they're going to find their voice even more so than just sounding like Led Zeppelin. And more power to them. I hope they do, you know. And to do that point, as artists develop, that's what happens. You know, if they keep at it, it's inevitable that no matter that what you do becomes more and more you. You find your voice more and more until your influences are just so weaved together that you might hear a little pop of, you know, a Beatles influence here or a Nirvana influence there or a Prince influence there. But in general, the overall impression and creation is just them, is so them, right? And again, so let's get back to this main point. If someone, there's different ways of stealing, right? So there's just flat out theft, like fully just lifting a song or an idea or an entire melody or set of lyrics or, you know, even arrangement, frankly, in a lot of ways, and making it your own without credit, without compensation. No, that's no good, right? And we know it's happened a lot in music history, especially to artists of color and people who come from, you know, minority communities, poor communities who are less privileged in some way. They're taken advantage of, right? If someone, so no, right? So if someone's doing original music, but of a way that's, say, cashing in on another person's style, you know, or substance, or another group's hard work, they're basically co-opting that sound, even if they're writing different, you know, that's legal. But I don't think it's ethical, and I don't think it's honestly very artistic. I think it's kind of shitty, honestly. So, like those two ways to me of stealing, right? And the thing is, that second one, it's everywhere. You will hear songs that sound so much like other songs, and this is the third way, if that artist or creator gives credit to their influence, credit to their inspiration, whether they're doing a cover of a song, obviously they're going to give credit and damn well better give compensation, or a song of their own, like like a couple years ago when Janelle Monae put out that album and this one song sounded so much like Prince. She was very open about she fucking loved Prince. She worked with him. Like she, you know, that to me is awesome, right? So that's where it goes from trying to claim something as your own and keep it all for yourself and say that this didn't come from anywhere, or giving credit where credit is due, whether that is just through, you know, words and name checking either an artist or a style, or if it's a song you're using, compensation as well, right? Or at least, you know, give a shout out if it's not a song that you're covering, you know. But then there's a fourth way. There's even another way that goes beyond all of that, and that to me is it's the integration. So it was what were the four? I wrote this: appropriation, no, adaptation, depends how you do it, right? Homage, yeah, absolutely, and then integration is what this is all about, right? So a friend of mine mentioned years ago not when this came out, maybe a few years after it was like, oh, Peter Gabriel did the whole, you know, African music influence thing long before Paul Simon did. And yeah, you know, so did Talking Heads, right? So that's true. I don't think it's relevant because it doesn't matter who does something first. If somebody does it well, they do it well, right? In this case, though, and it may have happened, I think it did happen with Talking Heads in particular, I don't know about Peter Gabriel, but the step Paul Simon took that was further is that he integrated the actual musicians themselves into the work he was doing. So if you don't know about Graceland, it was his hugest album, his huge hit, and that was after a career of huge hits with Simon and Garfunkel and huge solo hits in the 70s and, you know, early 80s maybe, I don't know that well. And then some hits even following this. This just blew up, and it was because everything about it was great, the music, the lyrics, but it was also because he not only took a style, African drumming and harmonies, amazing harmonies, but he also incorporated the band themselves, Ladysmith Black Mambazo, who by then were already legends because they had been around since the 60s, and used them. He worked with them, toured with them, did shows with them, and things like that, and compensated them, right? So, I mean, hugely important. And that to me is not just not bad. I think it's great, because I think the more connections you make between different kinds of music, the more you make connections between people and between areas of the world, and the more you blur the lines that don't exist anyway, the lines for, you know, types of people and cultures, or the lines for so-called, you know, genres. Music is not a genre, right? And that's something that he did, you know, in various ways throughout his career, but especially with this, right? And I think it's the kind of flip side of cultural appropriation, where that's kind of that second way I was saying, where you're adapting something from another artist, whether it's complete appropriation, lifting of a song and not giving credit or money, or you're taking a style that someone else worked hard at developing and claiming it as your own with absolutely no mention of where you got it from. That is no good. This is the flip side of that. This is, if you're going to do it, you know, if you're going to work with different cultures and different types of music, do it this way, right? That's, and which, you know, is, anyway, that's my opinion, as all of this is, right? So when I started writing songs, I did the same thing all artists do. I used my favorite artists as templates. There was a lot of, you could hear Beatles straight up and down what I was doing. You could hear Prince as a song I did, That Is All I Need. That was kind of a let's go crazy, meshed with punk, meshed with techno, and you know, but it was a very clear, like, to me anyway, right? I did a big ballad, Too Long, which was huge. That was the name, that was not the length. It sounded like Chicago, or sounded like power ballads of the day. And I knew I was doing that. I was trying to create music that was like that music and as good as that, right? Or I had more moodier songs that were more ambient and ethereal, like The Cure. Or I had songs that were more kind of blunt and in your face, but in a direct, personal way, like the Violent Femmes, or a little humor and stuff like that. And as I developed, I enmeshed all of those influences, amassed way more, dozens and dozens of other influences, hundreds, and things that, you know, as a musician, you hear something, if you like it, it immediately pops into your head and never forget it. Even if you forget where it came from, it's going to come out in a song eventually when you do it in one way or another. And so again, the end result doesn't become an appropriation or this is me sounding like such and such. It's the most me that I can be as an artist, right? You know, but if you listen closely, and I do, I have to, you can hear the influences. And not only that, I actually get a kick out of playing a song for somebody and saying, you hear that phrase, phrasing or phrase itself, I got that from this song, from this artist. Or you hear, you know, the way that I tone the guitar or how I'm playing the bass, I got that from this, you know. And because, again, credit where credit is due, but also to point out the idea that, so what? The song that's created, the music that's created, is original, and it's unique. It's built on something, and I love creating music that's built on many, 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 many different things, right? Even if you may not hear it. But the song I'm sharing this week, I think you're going to hear the influence. It's a song on my band Rec's forthcoming EP, done in conjunction with the band America UK, called Symphony for the Weird. It's the third in a series of EPs I'm doing. I'm going to be releasing a fourth EP in a month or two, and then a full-length Rec album by the holidays. It's 2020. And this song it's a song called No Way Out for Me, and of course the link's there at the bottom of the text. And you're going to hear, I think, you're going to hear a very clear, like, White Stripes and Lenny Kravitz mashup influence. You may hear a bunch of other things too, because I wasn't necessarily thinking of those bands when I wrote it. But as far as a blatant, like, let me give you a song of mine that shows how, you know, there's a way to adapt and pay homage to something, to integrate something that works, that's still original, I think it's the perfect example. And as far as this album goes, you know, the song Graceland, and then the other song, You Can Call Me Out, going through my head, you know, even as I talk. And if you don't know the album, pick it up and listen to it. It's amazing. It's a great entry into Paul Simon himself, even though it's in some ways different from the things he's done. It has a lot of links to the things that he did throughout his career. If you don't know it, I don't know how you couldn't know it unless you're a very young person who doesn't know history. Do you remember it? Do you like it? Do you like Paul Simon? Do you like any of his eras? Did you prefer this, or did you prefer his Simon and Garfunkel, or his 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover era? You know, what are your whole thoughts on this idea of stealing, of appropriation, of creating music from other music, or art from other art, or anything from other anything? You know, do you understand the differences I'm talking about? Do you agree or disagree with the differences I'm talking about? Discuss, damn it, because that's my whole point. Other than sharing music, is conversation and connection. Thank you so much, as always, for watching, for listening, for clicking, for sharing, for subscribing. And I will see you. I'm off next week. I'll see you in 2 weeks. Take care.